To meet today to talk a little bit about a couple things about where we're at in the growth development of Maxit and SciTalk, although this is certainly a more Maxit-centered conversation. We started back in 2006 and it kind of looked like this, and then it kind of looked like this, and then it's going to look like that someday. So I wanted to talk a little bit about us as a company and how we might feel a little tired of working and feeling like a middle-aged startup company. That kind of comes from the nature of what we've been through. So this again was us in 2006. We had unicorns and rainbows. Mike and I sat in the office and worked just pretty much on whatever needed to be done. It was very comfortable and nice. We had no clients. It was a wonderful world. And from there, we kind of moved on to the next stage. Anybody know what the black clouds are? Yeah, exactly. Financial crisis. Everything blew up, and it was really scary for a long time as well. So we moved on to 2010. We're still in a crisis a little bit. Things are still a little crazy, but things are also starting to happen. We've got a lot of clients: Raymond James, Scottrade, Vanguard, USAA, plus a whole bunch of other small ones that have come along that we're implementing, and it's challenging, but the work is getting done, and we're approaching 2011. We can see the future is that we're having mutual funds coming in 2012 after the 2011 stocks and ETFs, and then debt, and then more complex bonds in 2015. And so, but the waves are rising, right? And so in 2011, the first wave hits, and we get through that. And 2012, the second wave hits, and we get through that. And 2013, best tax year ever. Everybody's happy. Scottrade's like singing our praises. There are trumpets and angels, and everybody's happy. And immediately the following year, we get into bonds, and in 2014, we had the worst tax year ever. Everybody was very upset, and it was a very difficult time. So we're in 2014, and something else is also bubbling up. We've got Endeavor and SunGard, both have come at the same time. This is, by the way, a tsunami diagram. So this is the other aspect of the tsunami coming through right here. And it hits and it blows everything up, and at the same time we're having bonds at the same time. So everything, Ferocia knows, Philip on the phone knows, everybody who's dealt with all the fixed income stuff, even 3 years later, knows the repercussions that it continues to have. So that and an Endeavor at the same time is like the perfect storm. It's just a massive amount of work and difficulty. So as we kind of look at all this, we get to, and this last year was actually a good tax year thanks to everybody's work from a tax operational standpoint. But it's a so-so tax year because we're still seeing bugs from fixed income and that type of thing, which are very much more about the product and our capacity to implement and get out the right product at the right time, which we've never really, unfortunately, been absolutely able to do because every single wave knocks us back for a couple of years, and then we have to recover and fix our bugs and go through the whole process again. So I think kind of what we're just getting at there is that ultimately the reason we've kind of been in a constant battle stage is we've been in an entirely unique situation from a software development standpoint of dealing with regulatory deadlines that hit one right after the other, year after year after year. So now, what's different, right? We've finished pretty much all the waves of regulation. We're still cleaning up on fixed income, and we probably will be for some time. But I think we can get to a point where we can probably make this very not surprising prediction. Probably going to be a great tax season next year because we're going to be through most of that challenging work. And now, Sirianni may disagree, but I'm only going on past experience of getting through kind of to a regulatory point where things are kind of quiet, that we actually are able to really excel. So I guess at this stage, we're really at the point where we're starting to think about what's next and what are we going to be and what are we going to do. And that is kind of where the main focus of this discussion is today, is about what types of projects are we going to work on that are going to give us the most bang for our buck and get us where we want to go. And that's where I come to toothpaste and Spider-Man. And I'm going to talk a lot about Spider-Man. You're going to be sick of hearing about Spider-Man by the end of this conversation. Ultimately, I kind of came to this idea of the essential toothpaste concept is that we have a tube of toothpaste, which is basically all the inefficiency built up into the system over all these years of development in a very quick and rapid, not so organized fashion. And so we're now at a stage where we need to squeeze that inefficiency out of our process and out of our systems, so that we can be badass Spider-Man over here, right? Because the main thing about a spider is he's really efficient. He's capable of lifting something like 170 times his weight, unless you talk to a scientist who says it's all bogus, but we're not going to listen to them. And that's the era we're in, after all. And so what we're driving at here is the projects we do. We want them to be the projects that gain us the greatest amount of efficiency, the ones that make us all spider people able to lift 170 times our weight, so that as we grow, we don't need to hire new people. That's scalability, essentially, right? We don't need to keep adding heads. We just need to keep adding technology. And we can kind of stay the same size as much as possible and keep automating. And so the other thing about efficiency is it breeds more efficiency. So even when we're starting to look into the projects that we have been working on, we'll go ahead and start getting some results out of those projects and reports, and we'll see in those projects that, or in those reports, that there's actually, now we're seeing other inefficiency that's being exposed to us because we're getting more information about how our system works. And that's really true of the last project. And so then you start to think, okay, well, if I do efficiency projects and the efficiency projects show me other inefficiencies, then I can start building a train of things, or a chain of things that I can continue to compound upon. And as long as we're talking about efficiency in terms of what we develop, but it's also an efficiency in how we develop. Now, we've started to try to be more Scrum-like, more Agile-like, and we know that we're amateurs and we know we're not doing it right. But we want to get better. And so if we do our projects, our efficiency projects, and we focus on those and we get those done, and we do it in an agile manner. Now, I don't know if I really believe this guy, but the art of doing twice the work half the time, now we're developing faster, and we're developing projects that are going to make us more efficient at the same time. So what are we doing? We're building capacity from both ends. What we build makes us more capacious, and the way we do it makes us more capacious. So that's really attractive. And so I'll talk a little bit about the characteristics of those projects, and then we can kind of talk a little bit about what that capacity means for us. So right now, the right project or the perfect project for us, if it's not new development, new product line, is its cost-saving projects and efficiency-generating projects. So the first thing is that we wanted to improve the efficiency of existing support teams. Whatever we're having people do today, we want to make them more powerful, more capable of doing those things quicker and better. We also want to decrease the load on development resources. So any of those kind of menial tasks you're doing today as a developer, and you're thinking, why the heck am I doing those? We want to know that same question. We want to find the answer to that, because we want to be able to do something to take that job off of you, so it's a different job instead. Oh, we lost the thing. There we go. And we want to also provide self-service options to clients, because then we're not doing it, which is great. And they're happier because they get to support themselves. So it's a win-win situation. It's even a greater win-win situation if we get to charge them for it, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. In the end, we're basically giving them the tools to do the things that they want to do more quickly and not relying on us, which is great because they're getting that turnaround that much quicker. diagnostic error identification, automated troubleshooting, those are the things that we want to ingrain in the projects that we're building at this point too, because we've done stuff where we've been building for years and we kind of ignored the error component, and that makes it difficult for us to troubleshoot things. And it's very difficult probably to retroactively work those things into our system, but certainly in the new things we can do better. And that's really critical because it's going to lead to some other interesting possibilities, which I'll talk about. Or maybe I'm supposed to right now, but I can't see my notes. So I'll talk about them now anyway. Because the interesting thing about doing that too, once you start identifying or you're capable of recognizing why something happens, you're also capable of starting to speculate, well, maybe we could automate fixing that automatically. So when we look at corporate actions, for example, when a corporate action breaks and you have a population where some of it's working and some of it's not working, you know why some of it's working and some of it's not. So you can start to take the leap and say, well, why don't I take the characteristics of the stuff that's working and maybe just apply it to the stuff that's not working. Now, I don't know if anybody'd be thrilled about that from a data management perspective, but when you maybe just provide that capacity for a client to review that and say, yes, do that, then you're saying, I'm giving you the power to do it. I'm not just doing it and reporting back on it. I'm just saying, we can provide you the tools to do it yourself. I don't know what that means. There's an error on the screen. So chunkable. The other thing we want to do is, we're in 2-month development cycles, so we want to try to be able to move something of value out every 2 months. I'd love to get to a point where we can even do that through tax season, although that's probably a stretch. But it allows us to continue to show value quickly to the client, which they need, to see improvement, which is another key aspect of a project that's really valuable to us right now. All right, can we get to the next one?
If you click it, does it go?
Now I gotta see that? I can't get the mouse over
It's like
this.
you lost the meeting.
All right, so corporate action management, this is a recognition of Cameron. Not related, but I'm sure he'll appreciate it. The project name is actually CAST, but corporate action management is also how we'll probably refer to it in production. So phase one, these are how we're saying the right projects for right now. This project in many ways emulates it. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty good. And I think the project team is working very well in terms of getting to meet these goals. So whether what we spec'd out and what we think we will get as a team will be what we get, that depends on how effectively we work through the problems and et cetera that we encounter along the way. But phase one, we're going to set it up so clients can search for corporate actions utilizing multiple criteria. They can view all the corporate actions that are applicable to their instance, and they can view CA terms to compare and contrast. And again, I can't. Oh, yes, I can. So what does that mean? No more tickets requesting term information. So we always get clients asking, what are the terms for this corporate action? Those will go away. And the clients can research their own information. Research their own issues. So if they're seeing something that's not working, they can at least go look at the terms on their own. And so basically in the phase one, it's a report. I can see stuff. In phase two, clients will be able to view the detail. So in phase one, you're kind of looking at what is the big picture, and then you're getting the detailed lot records in phase two. And then the ability to modify the terms in the system. So they can literally take on what we always have previously put in tickets to our corporate actions team. And so these will just cut down dramatically on the amount of volume of tickets that we get through support as far as corporate actions are concerned. And there's two things. One, they can modify existing corporate actions, and they can set up entirely their own new corporate actions. So if they have something that's not even a corporate action on the market that anybody's aware of, they can set it up. Phase 3, automatic reprocessing of affected population in real time or scheduled, or will be scheduled appropriately. Essentially, once you set up a corporate action, the system will either reprocess it in real time, knowing the affected population, or it's actually going to say, you're too big, I can't do you right now, so I'm going to schedule you for Tuesday night. Or you're really big, I'm going to schedule you for Saturday morning at 10 or whenever batch is over, and run it through over the weekend. Diagnostic error codes, so that was what we were talking about before, the error codes that are going to tell you what exactly is not working. And then finally, this idea of ignore tags for junk data is another possibility for us to complete. So that is essentially another efficiency item, which is taking anything that's happening in the corporate actions feed where it's trying to process and it's never going to be an answer, and just saying ignore that, stop trying to process that, because they set it up for some other purpose which it wasn't really built for. So, and those are, I think, those op-divs and some of those types of things are the things we did with that. Hey, if you're on the phone, please go on mute. But you're probably not listening anyway. So.
Job, you're on.
Oh yeah, well that's true. No, I'm not actually.
You're not? Okay.
So one of the things I want to say though about this and about the Agile methodology is, right now we're still kind of going back in a room, doing our requirements, and then we'll come out and say these are the requirements, and the team will go, what are you, crazy, or so, whatever. But we're getting better about kind of negotiating, through the process of what we're going to build for each one. But it needs to go further than that. When we talk about the Agile development aspect, really it's not about us doing requirements in another place. It's about coming up with some basic ideas to get the conversation started, and then bringing the team together as a whole to understand the requirements of the client, of the product owners, and sharing and imbuing the project team with the same mindset, so that when you are building it, you don't have to explicitly state everything, because everybody knows this is what we're trying to build, because they've signed on and bought on to the same concept. And so when we do that, we end up with better products, we work faster, we don't have to build as many requirements, and so that's the other aspect of this aspirational goal of how we get better at doing Agile and Scrum. And to that end, we're going to start doing a little bit more classwork outside of the company, and then coming back and trying to apply it internally and bring other people on board and see if that concept works. And so as we move into phase 2, we'll be doing that more with Meghna and Balaji and Misha and Ricky and all the folks. Actually, it's going to be Minazul, so different, but trying to get better at that. So that we'll keep progressing that concept and trying to get better. All right. Just a couple points. These are the screens that Meghna's been working on, and that Jen worked on developing, and Mike worked on providing content for. The basic concept here are that we're going to have a powerful search engine to start it off so that they can really pinpoint anything that they're looking for. And I'm not going to go into all the details because corporate actions are not everybody's cup of tea, but it's cool. Then we're going to start off by finding the 5 worst offenders out there so that people can immediately see what their biggest problems are, and that they can start tackling those. You can see one other key point is we're going out with these beta tags. So we're kind of coming out of the gate admitting it's not a perfect and complete product. And part of the reason is that we want them to provide us feedback sooner rather than later. And also, it's not a critical functionality, right? This is green fields. Nobody has this yet. So we can build excitement by getting it out there. We can get feedback, which is going to make a better product, and we make our clients happier, even though they're not getting the perfect product. They're getting input, which is much more important to them. So it's another kind of win-win situation. From the data detail, or from the master records, I'm sorry, it provides all the corporate actions, and this harkens back to what we did for corporate actions aging report, but hopefully without nearly the challenges we had with that report. But it is conceptually gets to some of the same ideas. We're in the last column on the right, we're identifying the population of matched or unmatched, and that information is providing the user with a very clear understanding of, hey, this thing is fully matched, or I've got work to do here. So it really is adding a whole another layer of information to clients to self-empower. And even with just this view, I guarantee you we are going to have some very happy folks on the other end. So I think it's going to be a huge step forward, and it didn't really cost us that much effort, right? We just needed the time and capacity to do it. So you're going to keep coming back to capacity, right? And then we've got the terms, and so now you can even dig all the way down, see all the terms that that are associated with the corporate action you're interested in. You can't modify them yet, but you will be able to modify them in the next round. So what's next? So along the same idea, we've had some beginning ideas. There's Mike Pass brought up global data cleanup, so basically the ability for the client to download the information out of our system, raw tables, and then be able to modify them in Excel or whatever editor they want to, and then upload that information back up and have it reprocessed. That's another concept of self-service that takes us out of that global cleanup arena, which we don't want to be in, and we don't want to put dev people on. We want to be doing other things. CA Pattern Maker is one that I've been starting to talk with Mike about, which is basically a concept of taking all the complex corporate action patterns that we have out there, and rather than having to go to a developer every time we want to modify one of those, all those corporate actions have certain defined characteristics. They have a target, they have a date, they have and they have a movement. These things can all be put into an interface, and we can just say, this is the target, this is the type of movement, these are the outcomes, so that we can actually start doing coding, not really, but using this pattern maker to essentially establish a pattern that doesn't exist today. So we have those scenarios where people are like, we have 3 stocks that went through this insane thing, and we have to go, well, it's going to take us 6 months to get to that. But it doesn't really have to be that way if we can make a system that allows us to kind of move the pieces of the puzzle around and come out with a new outcome, as long as all the same, we're dealing with the same characteristics, ratios, terms as they are. So we're starting to play with that as another idea. Client-sourced corporate actions with taxability overlay. We're really only thinking about that because everybody who has a piece of data on the market now thinks they can charge for it. We've got S&P after us, DTCC after us, now NYSE's coming after us. So we're at the point where we're like, okay, we're going to get out of this business and let the clients put all that data in the system, and we'll just step back and provide the taxability. That's another type of challenge where we're looking for how do we become more efficient from a cost perspective. We don't have to spend money on all these data feeds. That would be something we can do. Finally, the main point of today is actually we are looking for ideas, and the reality is that everybody here is working on stuff every day that could be an opportunity for us to be more efficient. And so if you find yourself, again, doing work that you're going, I hate this kind of work, and isn't it ridiculous that I'm doing it, we would want to know about that, because that's the stuff we want to pull out of the daily work that we do, move it into automation or back to the client. And so no more Spider-Man or toothpaste or anything else, but this is the basic message. Efficiency projects plus efficient development is going to bring us new capacity, new product, and new growth. And new growth is what being a company is all about. And so this is the stage we're at. We've weathered the storm. We've had incredible implementations and incredible effort over the last 10 years. And now that the kind of regulatory swirl is easing, we're at a point that we can focus on these types of projects, and it will completely flip us into a rapid growth scenario. So that's pretty much the message, and I think really that that all of you are the key to that. It's let's find those ideas, let's bring them to the table, and let's come up with projects to build them. And that's it. Thanks, everybody. And if anybody has any questions, yeah, go ahead.
Do you know when phase 1, 2, and 3 are going into production?
No idea. No, I'm kidding. So we will have, there will be a, one, for client support, we will have rollout meetings. So one is on July 20th. So we'll do a demo with everybody, and we have release notes, but they're kind of just the basic stuff. But we'll give you the full walkthrough, and we'll do that with each phase. And phase 2 will be September whatever, and phase 3 would be November whatever. So that's the plan at the moment.
Cool.
All right. Anything else? Anybody else? All right. Drink your beer. All right. Bye. Thanks everybody on the phone. Bye bye.